their time together, they have invented, reinvented, refined and redefined magic as we know it, while entertaining millions over the last 40 years. They're still doing it better than ever. Here they are, the fabulous Penn and Teller.
There's a kind of magic called gospel magic. And gospel magicians use magic tricks to proselytize. Now, in 1948, there was a country western hit by Tex Ritter called The Soldier's Deck of Cards. And the story of that song is that a soldier is caught in church with a deck of cards, and his commanding officer says he'll be court-martialed for having gambling apparatus in church. So we're going to do an answer song to A Soldier's Deck of Cards, giving us an opportunity to proselytize a little bit. You all set? A while ago, Tell and I were sitting in the front row of a lecture by the theoretical physicist Lawrence Krauss. Suddenly, Krauss looked down and said, "Teller, you've been fiddling with that deck of cards as I began speaking. Do you find me so dull that you have to amuse yourself with trivial tricks and manipulations?" Teller stood up and addressed Lawrence and the entire audience. "Not at all, Dr. Krauss," Teller began. "I'm listening to every word you say. I don't carry a pad of paper or a cell phone, but as a magician, I always have my deck of cards with me. I use that deck and my knowledge of magic to take notes. Please allow me to recap what you've covered so far." And Teller fanned the cards out. "You know, Lawrence, you're a very well-known atheist. As I look over the faces of the cards, I notice there's no God among them. The universe of my deck, like the universe of your speech, contains kings, queens, millions of number combinations, and, well, even a couple of jokers, but no God can be found." Teller motioned the professor, and Lawrence Krauss, he stood up right there in the audience. Teller explained that he would riffle down the deck, and the professor should yell, "Stop!" to select a random particle from the universe of Teller's deck. Well, Teller riffled, professor yelled. Teller showed the card to the professor and to the entire audience. It was a 3 of clubs, and we all promised ourselves we'd remember it. Teller returned the card to the deck and handed the deck to Lawrence to shuffle. Teller took the fully shuffled cards back to the professor and took a quick look at the random order of the faces. You know, every random order contains some intrinsic qualities. The 4 aces always remind me of the 4 fundamental interactions in nature. The ace of diamonds, that reminds me of electromagnetism. And electromagnetism is a force responsible for practically all the phenomena encountered in daily life. Ordinary matter takes its form as a result of molecular forces between individual molecules. The ace of diamonds, electromagnetism, that holds our world together. The other force encountered in daily life is gravity, the ace of hearts, which individual particles attract with a force proportional to their masses. And that leaves the strong interaction, the weak interaction. Well, the strong force, to me, that's the ace of spades, and that binds protons and neutrons together and the nucleus of the atom. And that leaves the good old weak force, the ace of clubs, which is responsible for radioactive decay of the nuclei and hydrogen fusion of the stars. Now, someday there may be an accepted unified field theory, and all these cards will be of one suit. But until then, the 4 suits remind me of the 4 fundamental interactions in nature. And with that, Teller had thrown most of the cards in the audience. He said these few cards remaining remind me of the cosmological constant. Oh, it's an amazing constant. Even as space gets bigger, the energy density remains the same. Let's measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to try to change that density by throwing out 1, 2, 3 cards. The energy density, well, it still remains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it keeps working, you know. I can throw out 1, 2, 3 cards, still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's counterintuitive. How can that be to throw out 1, 2, 3 cards, still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah? I can just throw out 1, 2, 3 cards, still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can do this forever, man. Draw 1, 2, 3 cards, still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, to do this trick with cards, I need sleight of hand. But the cosmological constant is really the way energy density of the universe works. I'm more amazed than any fiction or magic trick until he reached in his pocket. He pulled out a balloon. He began blowing it up, as he explained. This brings us to the forefront of science, the Higgs boson. Now, the theory was that particles only have mass because of an unmeasured theoretical field that they move through. This may seem like an invisible God, but the difference is it can be tested. The Large Hadron Collider tested it, and it sure looked like they predicted Higgs lasted for a billionth of a billionth of a second before going poof and leaving behind the telltale signature of our freely selected 3 of clubs, which lasted just long as we measured before vanishing. Teller took a breath. He said, "Let my hands represent quantum nothingness." Professor Lawrence Krauss looked, and he said, "Teller, please, just sit down and shut up."
Physics. Penn and Teller, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Penn and Teller, that's all the magic we have for you tonight. Join us again because we'll have more amazing tricks and, of course, more Penn and Teller. Good night from Las Vegas.